How Marion Works, a podcast series dedicated to informing you of the inner workings in all areas of Marion government and public services. Thank you for listening. Hello and welcome to Season 1, Episode 3 of How Marion Works. This is going to be a Set the City on Fire featuring Curtis Garr and Eddie Overmyer. I'm so excited to have these special guests today. I just wanted to remind listeners that this podcast, the vision is to keep the citizens of Marion and the surrounding area updated and exposed to all the moving parts of the city. And you can actually listen to How Marion Works podcast through your favorite platform, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and many more partners, all found at buzzsprout.com. Okay, we're going to get into it, guys. We have the Fire Chief, Curtis Garr, and Deputy Chief Eddie Overmyer with the Marion Fire Department. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Did that get you all pumped up?
I know, I feel really excited right now.
You know what? I was listening to some music this morning that kind of pumped me up, and I'm excited for today. Good. We've got a lot of great things to talk about because the Marion Fire Department is doing great things, and you've been chief for a year already.
Correct.
And same thing with you, Eddie. You've been deputy chief for a year already. But I want to get started with just a fun question just to get warmed up.
Okay.
All right.
Fire away.
Okay, guys. I'm going to start with you, Curtis.
Okay.
What is your favorite band or musician?
I'm kind of an old head, so my favorite band is Earth, Wind & Fire.
Nice. I first think of the song September because it just makes me, if you are ever in a bad mood, you can listen to that song and it just brings you joy. It reminds me personally of my wedding day. You know, I was married in September. And
nice.
Yeah. So do you like to actually get up and dance?
Not really. I mean, I'm a head bobber, so I can bob my head. And since I dabble in the drums a little bit, so my foot starts tapping for the bass kick drum. So
nice.
So I do that a lot, but I'm not much of a dancer.
Yeah. So you're a drummer though.
Very, very intermittently.
Cool.
Beginner.
Well, that's cool. And then you had also shared that you have experience with sound production.
Yeah.
That's really something.
I've got a few hats I wear.
Yeah, I want to hear more about that later, but we'll get into your background here in just a minute.
Okay.
Okay, Eddie, who is your favorite band or artist or musician?
Probably Prince.
Man, so you're bringing out the big guns. Yeah, he's actually one of those. I mean, would you consider him funk music, really, or would you consider him rock? He can kind of span all kinds of genres.
I think he's undefinable.
Yeah,
he's a where he's at.
Yeah.
I think that's the way to go. I mean, you're reaching so many people.
I think whatever song you're listening to defines whatever genre he wanted to be in that moment.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of all of them if he wanted to be.
He was a true artist. So do you like to get up and dance too, Eddie?
No, not really.
But it's feel-good music too. I mean, there's a lot of songs that Prince, has in his catalog that are just,
I think what impressed me most about Prince was that he did everything. He wrote the songs. He produced them from start to finish.
Yeah.
It was reported that he knew how to play 200 instruments and 60 of them actually was proficient in.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You were sharing some trivia about Prince too, about the catalog and everything. And there's another firefighter with Marion Fire Department who just loves Prince.
Yes.
And he comes up to me every so often, and he, Kyle Miller. Yes. Is he a assistant chief?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, he's a Prince fan too. You guys talk Prince a lot.
Huge fan.
It gets you by. Well, that's good. I love hearing those things about you guys, and you're stationed at headquarters.
Yeah.
And so we do get to see each other kind of often because you're in City Hall. But I'd like to just start with, Curtis, just tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you were born and raised, and then, get into your education and your career path that led you to work for the fire department.
That's an interesting topic. I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. After I graduated high school, I went to a trade school in Northwest Ohio, Lima, Ohio. At the time, it was called Northwestern College. It's now grown quite a bit. Now it's the University of Northwest Ohio.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
I'm familiar with Lima, Ohio.
Right. Yeah, and so I went there I wanted to be an auto mechanic. That was my goal. I wanted to be an auto mechanic. So I went there to learn the trade. But there I met a girl who was there in the IT realm. She was going to be a computer programmer. I met her there. We became friends, started dating, and next thing you know, here I am in Marion, Indiana, because that's where she lived at the time. So
that was supposed to happen.
Yeah. So, and I moved here at the time. I was working on semi-trucks because I'm following my career path, and that didn't work out well for me. And next thing you know, I'm working a couple of factories, and I'm working kind of a dead-end job in the rent-to-own industry. And I had a young child, and I'm a newlywed, and I needed a better job. And so the only reason I applied was it was a city job with city benefits, making city pay. And so
it sounded more exciting, probably.
It was more exciting. I didn't know if I was going to like it or not. But once I got into it, I found out I loved it, and here I am.
What year was that?
I was hired in 1999.
Okay.
I moved here in 1995, a month after my daughter was born.
Did you have a certain station that you were at for the most part? Which one was it?
Most of my career, probably half of my career, was at Station 6 out in South Marion.
Okay. And then what was your field of interest when you got started with the fire department and all those certification opportunities? What piqued your interest the most? Well,
my whole goal, I had a plan early on, but as plans go, God changes them sometimes. And my plan was to ride the back of the truck for a little while as a private, and then go to engineer driving the truck for a little while. And my ultimate goal was to be a captain for maybe most of my career. And then in the twilight years, when I'm getting older, I wanted to go back to being an engineer, just to kind of coast out, so to speak, until retirement. And I never thought that I wanted to be, in the office. That wasn't one of my goals ever. Then it wasn't until about 5 years ago that it became a kind of a possibility. And, you start hearing your names in certain circles mentioned by certain people. You're like, oh, I didn't know they were thinking of me like that. So
yeah.
So now I'm like, okay, maybe I can do it. And here I am.
Nice. I think now that I've gotten to know you a little bit, I consider you as cool, calm, and collected, and also very reserved.
Yeah.
And I feel like they saw those qualities in you, that you could handle anything that came your way, and you just had these natural leadership qualities.
I try. It's things I've learned over time. I didn't know I was a leader until I was kind of, forced into it a little bit. And I was actually captain earlier than I wanted to be, earlier than my plan was. But it worked out better for me. I learned a lot from the older guys, the older captains. I learned a lot of things of what works well with leading people, what doesn't work well with leading people, because not every captain was a good captain. Not every good captain was a good person. So I learned different tricks of the trade throughout the years, and I just applied the things I thought worked best. And I put my own personal spin on it that works best for me. And I think it makes me a pretty good leader, but only time will tell. So I think my firefighters will be able to tell you that story better than I can.
Well, I think you're doing a great job as a leader for the fire department, and I'm on the inside, but then I'm also just kind of viewing it from the outside, and I feel like the fire department is moving along really well. And by the way, I really like the new rookie shirts. Yes. The new blue.
Yeah.
You had a couple guys sworn in.
Yes. We changed our traditional gray shirt that we all wore for nicer events, and that was one of the things that Eddie and I wanted to change. Was we wanted to change some traditions that we didn't think really mattered. I won't say matter, but didn't really. The gray shirt never looked right to me to begin with, so I wanted to go with a different color. And one thing Eddie and I want to do is kind of start our own kind of traditions, and hopefully they go forward from years to come. And one of those things was changing that gray shirt. Nice.
I think they look sharp, and it's a brand blue for the city, so it looks great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing a little bit about your background.
No problem.
Okay, Eddie, let's take it away. Where were you born and raised, and your journey that led you here?
Right here in Marion.
Oh, boy.
Yep.
Okay, so your education, did you graduate from... Oh, you didn't graduate from Marion High School, did you?
Yes.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Okay. And then what did you do after that?
After I graduated, 2 weeks after graduation, they sent me off to the Navy.
Oh,
so
okay.
They trained me there for to run a nuclear reactor plant. So I had 2 years of training, and then they put me on a submarine.
Where?
Out of Norfolk, Virginia.
Wow.
So
That's
I did that
so
for
interesting.
about 4 years, and got married. In fact, my wife and me, we were in the exact same class in kindergarten at Marion. So we've known each other all our lives.
I love that. Oh my goodness. And we got to meet her at the Christmas party, and I actually just put 2 and 2 together because you have on the back of your phone a submarine from the Yellow Submarine,
Exactly.
the Beatles, and you just have this tie to submarines.
Yep.
I love that so much.
Yeah, that's just part of me. The military life is great for, if you're single, but if you're planning a family, it's a little dicey. So we decided to get out. And somebody with a nuclear background, it's kind of tough to get a job around here for that. So
Right.
I ended up getting sent out to Jersey, and for pharmaceuticals. What I was trained in translated real well over to pharmaceuticals, and I worked out there. And while I was back here one time, my brother was on the fire department, and he said, hey, you should just try out while you're here for a couple weeks. And so I just did it. And 2 years later, I was out there in Jersey, and they gave me a phone call, said, hey, you want to come back? And we really wanted to live in Marion and in Grant County area, because that's where our family was.
Yes.
It's tough to go out, out into area where you don't have any family or relatives, and that support net is not there.
I know what you mean. I did the same thing out near Philly, and I felt very isolated, and I knew that I needed to eventually be back in Indiana.
Yep. I will say, they know how to cook food out there out
They
on
do.
the East Coast.
They do. That is one thing I miss, all the family-owned restaurants that are out there. So that's very interesting, and how you just kind of winged it, and you obviously got hired on right away. What year was that, Eddie?
That was 1995.
Okay. So I know that you've been the training officer for quite some time in your career with the fire department, but before then, did you have any other interests that piqued your interest for certifications?
I was an investigator before that. So I've been up at headquarters a long time.
Yeah.
But never in a supervisory capacity. It was always like investigations, training, and all that stuff. But training always, in fact, the military, they wanted to keep me as an instructor, and they offered me a job to train. And so it seems like I've always been drawn to the training side of everything. Because it's a good fit for me. I really enjoy just showing people how to do things.
Nice.
And,
We need that.
So
They need that.
it was a good fit. And in fact, when it comes to me and Curtis, pretty good team.
Yeah.
His my weaknesses is his strengths, and his weaknesses, I have the strengths.
That's
so it's a real good fit.
It's perfect.
Yes.
And our thought processes are pretty much right on. We don't really disagree about too much.
No, it's scary sometimes, because
Wow.
when Mayor Morrell was asked me to be chief when he was running, I had one name on my list of who I wanted to be deputy chief, and I was hoping that Eddie would say yes. And because if he said no, I have no idea who I would have picked. We've got a lot of talented guys in the department, but there was only one guy I knew would fit that job perfectly, because I knew he had skills I didn't have, and it's kind of a real yin and yang kind of thing. Eddie's very comfortable just, if he can hide in his office and be there and just do whatever he's doing in there, and just all the grunt work, he loves doing that. And he has no problem when I'm the face. I understand I'm the face of the department. He's okay with that. Yes, you go out and be the face and be the person in front of the crowd. He's good with that.
Yeah.
So it's really a good fit for both of us, and it's pretty scary how I have an idea and I go to Eddie and he'll say, I was kind of thinking the same thing. And we never talked about whatever it was. And he'll do the same thing. He'll come in, hey, what about? And I'll say, you know what? I was thinking that last week. And so I don't know how it happens like that, but it's, like I said, it's kind of scary sometimes where we're on the same mindset, but we didn't tell each other, and all of a sudden, yeah, I was thinking the same thing. So it's really, it's cool at the same time, but it's kind of scary.
That just makes your work so much easier.
Yeah.
And well, congratulations for both stepping up to a leadership position, because it's not really the easiest decision in the world to make that decision and that commitment.
No.
And, leadership can sometimes be a lonely thing, and, you have to stick to your guns and make important decisions.
I'm laughing because when I first told my mom, her immediate reaction was, "No, don't do it."
Oh, really?
Yes, that was her immediate reaction. She said, "No, you don't want no part of that, because people start hating you." And then she thought about it for a little while later, maybe an hour or so. She came and said, "Well, I mean, if you really want to do it, So, but she's behind me. I know she was just looking out for her baby boy. So, so I get that part. But it's got its challenges. But all in all, Eddie and I are having a great time. I couldn't ask for a better part right now.
Nice. Well, since this is a How Marion Works podcast,
right.
I want to get into just the basics, because it might seem like a basic, simple question, but perhaps our listeners don't realize all of the responsibilities that are required by the fire department.
Yes, there are a lot of misconceptions out there.
Yeah. So what all are the fire department responsible for? Basically just all the responsibilities covered by your department, and maybe just go into like a day-to-day life of a firefighter.
The responsibilities, it's kind of, I can't narrow it down to like a specific, obviously we fight fire, but I like to describe it as, with the exception of chasing bad people, criminals, we do everything else. We do chase arsonists, but on a day-to-day, we don't chase criminals, but we do everything from the cat in a tree to if the train derails crossing State Road 18. We do everything in between. So we have to be ready for almost everything in between. And unfortunately, that takes it's a lot of training, it's a lot of equipment we need, it's a lot of specialized equipment we need, and all that costs a lot of money. And it can be kind of a drain to the city at times financially. But if we don't do it, no one else is really equipped to do it. Our cousins, so to speak, the police officers, they do a great job, because we can't do a lot of stuff without them. Because a lot of the things that are a burden to us, I'm going to say a burden, but can be an obstacle, is crowd. And they do a great job of crowd control for the things that they aren't equipped to do or trained to do.
Yeah.
So we work well together with the police department in that aspect. But we have to be ready for just about anything that happens.
How Marion Works is sponsored by the City of Marion. This podcast covers the inner workings of city government to better serve you. Now, speaking of readiness and just all of those different scenarios that can happen, Eddie, I would love for you to go into that. Like, you have dive training, you have helicopter training, loading onto a helicopter. You can go into all those kinds of scenarios if you want.
Yeah. When it comes to training, the Marion Fire Department has really invested a lot of time and effort, and it's paying off dividends. We've been really knee-deep in training for all these scenarios, and we're starting to see the real benefit of all the preparation, because that's basically, you can't just like wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I'm going to go in and I'm going to have an awesome day and I'm going to rise to the occasion. But if you haven't done the preparations and the opportunity comes and you're not ready, it's not going to happen. Right. So, it's been a long journey of getting ready for the dive incidences and helicopter emergencies have really grown over the last 10, 15 years. We use them a lot when they're on the scene, and so we've done our due diligence in those areas to prepare our employees to handle those situations when we add the helicopter to the scenario. So we're ready for we've really branched out into areas like confined space. We're working on adding drones to our department. So we've got the start of a drone team in conjunction with the Marion Police Department, kind of sharing the drone responsibilities there.
So how would that work? How would you utilize a drone?
Well, right now, like if we're on a fire, the police department, since our guys are all tied up, they would run the drone and give us that aerial view of, because we cannot see from the top. But that's invaluable information that we can collect from that drone on a fire scene that can be given to the AC, so he can see a 360 right from the looking from the top view, which we never had that capability before. And the drones, we can see all kinds of applications for drones, like on a hazmat spill. If it goes into a creek, we can just run that drone right down the creek, and we can see how far the whatever was spilled in the creek. We can see how far it's traveled, so that we can put up our socks. Those are socks in the hazmat. Basically, that would clean up whatever was spilled that's floating on the in the creek and everything. So.
Okay.
So basically, we can see how far the spill's gotten down the creek, and we can send our employees down to the next available place, and then they can put that sock across there. So there's a lot of applications. One that is not here, but we know that they have the capability is basically every emergency. We would like to see the drone dispatched, and that drone can get anywhere in the city of Marion in 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And
that's very impressive.
And that feedback could come back, and then we would know if we needed to speed up or slow down, or we don't need everybody on this because it's not quite what was described, to the dispatcher. So I can see that day coming, where the drone will aid all emergency agencies in that fashion. So the fire department would be getting that feed on that dispatch, law enforcement, ambulances, they would all be getting that feed, and then they would be able to adjust to whatever the emergency was.
That's so important, because to me that sounds a lot safer than having someone. I mean, obviously you have your first responders, but maybe it can be a safer way in some instances without having someone actually go do, an extra person go do something like that.
Yeah. We're always looking for down the road in the future. Yeah. So we see that is where the future of the drone
and hazmat
is.
Yeah. Especially for hazmat, since it's a whole new animal.
Yeah, it's always a new animal, because as technology grows and gets expanded and new ways of building things, new construction materials.
Yes.
As those things expand, we have to expand with it. And now fighting a fire today is different than fighting it 20 years ago. Things accelerate a lot faster. Materials are somewhat cheaper or thinner or lighter. So the lighter and cheaper they are, the faster they burn. And so it's less time we have to get that under control before it gets out of control.
Well, just speaking of, what it takes to, fires are, different than maybe what someone may think it is. And there are so many different scenarios. And so I would like to kind of pivot just a little bit in how someone from the community can become a firefighter and what it actually takes to become a firefighter. What are the requirements and all that?
Well, there's a few requirements. Right now for the city of Marion, you have to be 21 years, at least 21 years of age. And the state of Indiana says you can't be over 40 to apply. 40 or over, you can't apply. So a high school diploma, a valid driver's license, no felonies are the minimum requirements to even apply. And then once you apply, there's what's called a CPAT test, and that's just a standardized physical test that everyone has to take and pass to even be considered to be a member of our department. And that's any department in the state of Indiana.
So do you have a waiting list right now, or do you have, because I know you just you swore in two new firefighters.
Correct.
But are you are you at capacity, or are you still looking for more firefighters?
We are two down right now on capacity. We're getting ready to hire another one. He's starting later this month. But after that, we've exhausted our last hiring list. So we'll be starting the process again probably in March, probably April. And so citizens can be on the lookout if they're interested. We'll be advertising on all of our social media pages and in the newspaper. And we'll start the hiring process. And I want those who are interested to understand that the key word is process. It is a process. It takes at least 4 to 5 months, but it's more like a 6 to 8 month process because of different things that has to be done during the thing. And some of the things that we are on someone else's time, and that always takes some other time away from us. So it's a process, takes anywhere from 5 to 8 months, I would say.
So that is just the as a candidate.
Yes.
And before the hiring.
Yes.
And so after that 6 to 8 months, what does the hiring process look
So
like?
that whole thing is the hiring process. So
Okay.
after the application, then there's a written test that we'll give them materials to study for, and then they come and take the written test. And then the same day as the written test, they'll do the ladder climb on our aerial device that's extended 75 feet, and they have to be able to go and climb that and touch the top rung and come back down.
Yeah, that's important.
Because everyone's afraid of heights to a certain degree, but we need to know how afraid you are.
Yeah.
And then after that, then we do ride-alongs, and they'll do a series of 3 ride-alongs of 6 hours each. And then all the firefighters get to see the candidates and to get their own little kind of personal test on a real ground roots level of, do they like this person? Do they not? Like, they notice this about them, they notice that about them. They got kind of a standardized kind of a obstacle course that we do to test some strength a little bit, some endurance a little bit, testing their will. What happens when they get tired? Do they kind of fold, or do they rise, or what happens when they get tired? What happens if we yell at them a little bit? We need to know all the little things, because those little things can be big things later on.
Yes.
And so it's a process. It's not necessarily a delicate process, but it's a necessary process that we do, and it is turning out it works really well for us, because we're really, even though we're a small department in the grand scheme of the state of Indiana, but we're a really aggressive department, and we take pride in that, and we need those who are going to join us to be aggressive as well. And especially with the youth of our department, because we are a very young department because of retirements. The youth of our department have to really step up, and they have to do more today than the youth did 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So,
how many firefighters do you have?
Currently 58. We'll have another one starting earlier, and we'll be at 59.
Okay.
But we're budgeted for 61.
Okay. And on that regard, like, how many actual apparatus do you have? You have, I know you're in the process of getting a new truck.
Yes, we're in the process of that. It's close. It's been close for a while, but it's getting really close. We have 7 apparatus, because we have 4 per station, plus we have an aerial device, and we have 1 spare. So we have 6 right now. Once the new one gets here, we'll have 7.
So an aerial device is a ladder truck,
The ladder
right?
truck, yes.
Okay. Very interesting.
Yes.
So do you feel like you're at a good number there?
As far as vehicles or trucks, we're at a good number. We still have, we'd like to replace the ladder truck that we have, but that's another conversation for another day, I guess.
Yeah.
Because, the truck that we were just awarded is not cheap. Like I said before, none of our stuff is really cheap, and they get more.
Because one fire truck is in it pretty high. It's like 400.
No, it's more than that.
Is it more than that?
Yes, it's because of different things, and the truck the city bought a few years ago was about $480, I believe.
Okay.
But the one that we just bought was the same manufacturer, just a newer model, because it's 2024 at the time.
Yeah.
It's $860, so it jumped from $480 to $860. So it's
And that's with no equipment.
that's no equipment.
Right.
That's bone dry, empty. It's nothing. It's got some
Yeah.
things, but it's got none of our axes or anything. No equipment, no hoses, nothing.
There's a lot that goes into it.
You get the truck, you get lights, you get siren, and you get your name stencils on the side. That's
Wow. Well, I hope that progresses well and that you get that
Yeah.
in soon.
Yeah.
And speaking of the new things that are new, I know
Yeah.
that you guys are working on a new fire station for
Yes.
downtown.
Yes, that is so exciting. And we're so appreciative of the mayor, the council, the board of works. We're so appreciative of everyone because we know they've invested quite a bit of money in the fire department in the last year. And investing in a Station 1 I think is crucial to the downtown area.
Yeah.
Especially with the growth that's going to happen. And I think even more growth is going to come. And just having that downtown station is really pivotal for us. And because the way our stations are laid out in the city, right now we're like if you play Monopoly, the dice. Right now we're looking like the number 4. We're on the corners of the city. Well,
okay.
Station 5 will be the dot in the middle for the 5.
The missing piece.
The missing piece. So it's really easy. It's a lot better for us and a lot safer for us to have the 5th station to be able to get to different locations, because there's another thing we take pride on is with the 5 stations, our response time was 2 minutes. Wherever we needed to go, whatever station with us, it was 2 minutes, maybe 2.5 minutes.
It doesn't seem like a long time, but to you guys, that's a long time.
And so now getting to the center of the city, we're closer to 7 or 8 minutes, just because there's no station there right now.
Right, the 7 or 8 minutes is a long time.
It's a long time. So we'd like to get back to that 2 to 3 minute mark, or the 2 to 2.5 minute mark, and having that downtown station do that.
Good. I'm so glad that things are happening. I'm going to just take a quick break to have a plug for our connection to the city. If you want to stay connected, I encourage you to follow us at City of Marion IN on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and TikTok. You can also go to our website, cityofmarion.in.gov, in our news and events section, and also through My Marion app on your Android or iPhone. So those are just some ways to stay connected. You know, if you're not connected to the city, I don't even know what to say, because especially with the addition of this new podcast, there's so many different ways that you can learn about city government and operations and public services. So now that we're getting ready to do a couple more questions, but let's just do another fun question, because I know firefighters, they tend to know how to cook, right? Yeah. So if you know how to cook and if you enjoy cooking, what is it that you mostly like to do? Eddie, I'm going to actually start with you.
For cooking?
Yes.
I never much was a cooker. Usually we always had one guy that always took that responsibility everywhere, and I was not that guy.
You just like to eat.
I do like to cook, but I cook at home, but I never got the opportunity really to cook for the guys, so I just wasn't that guy.
You had other specialties, and that's kind of how I view myself too. You know, I can do the dishes, I can help out in other ways, but and I can cook for 2, but for some reason I get freaked out if I have to cook for more people. How about you, Curtis?
I like to call myself I'm a chef on the inside. I watch a lot of Food Network, so inside I feel like I'm a chef, but I actually don't cook very much. And at home, my wife does all the cooking. She cooks, and I do all the dishes, and I clean up the kitchen. So, and I've never really somehow I've always got out of cooking for everyone at the station. Whether it was someone else was better or someone else had less time than me, so hey, you do it because I don't have to do it anymore. So
yeah,
I've never really cooked for the firefighters because I'm not really that good. So I'm okay. I can cook for myself. I can cook for my wife, but that's about it.
And you can go over all the safety rules for cooking and all that.
Yeah, the proper way you do this. So yeah, I get all the Food Network knowledge, but I don't really apply any of it.
Yeah. I tend to think of, because with a slow cooker these days, ever since I watched that show that actually my dad calls it We Are Them, but it's, remember This Is Us? Yeah. I kind of have a fear of using the slow cooker. Yeah. I know that's kind of a spoiler alert, but that show's pretty old now.
Yeah.
But there are some safety concerns there. Yeah. And
there's always safety concerns.
Yeah, there always are, and especially at Thanksgiving time and, you know, when people get together. So just thinking of the day-to-day, you know, a firefighter's shift is really long. It is a 24-hour shift.
Correct.
So we were just curious, what do firefighters basically do to buy time, and what could they do, or what do they usually tend to do on a boring day to make it more exciting?
Well, if you think about it, because we have 58 firefighters currently, there's 58 personalities. So we all have a similar interest in doing the job that we do because we all love it to a certain degree. But there's 58 different ways of passing time. But, most guys will have a second job. So some guys will come in and just rest and not do a whole lot. Yeah. And it's just because they're just tired. The kids are in sports, or they left this job at 7 a.m. They went and did their part-time job till 5 p.m. And then they went and did whatever kids event, practice, whatever. So they get home at 10 p.m. So they may just come in and rest. Some guys, they like to read. Some guys like to just play video games. Some guys watch TV. Some guys, just pass the time by doing whatever thing. They may bring in a project from home just to tinker with something all day. There's all different ways guys pass the time. But
because work can get too much.
Yeah.
I mean, especially if they're doing part-time work on their off days.
Yeah.
My nephew does that, and he is actually a reserve police officer on his off days.
Yes.
And that's a lot. You have to do something to balance.
And that's in addition to what our daily duties that we have every day. The truck's washed every day. The station's cleaned. Of course, you got meals. And then there's training, especially now we're doing more training than we ever have just because of the youth of our department. So there's a lot of training. So there's not much downtime as it used to be because of all the training that we're having to do. Yeah. But it's necessary training. We have to get our young firefighters up to speed, and we have to prepare for more emergencies. We have to prepare for whatever's going to happen. Whether it does or doesn't, we have to try and prepare for it.
And in addition to that, also physical training.
Yes.
A lot of our employees that we've hired really have they want to go work out, and we allow them to go do that. It's actually in our SOPs that every day you're on shift, you're going to do some physical training, and they take that pretty serious.
Yeah.
So it's required during the work hours. That's great.
I even do it. I'm up at admin, but I try to make an effort to get down to the Y and do some physical activity, because I don't feel that when you're if I won't do it, I can't expect you to do it. So if I can make time to go get my physical training in, then I expect you to go get your physical training in.
Yes, so it should be a requirement. Yes. Yeah. Well, that's very important, and I know you guys do so many things for the community. So how can the community help you? Is there any way that, how can they support you, or honestly, what can be done by the citizens along with the fire department to make the community a better place to live?
Just being cognizant of what you're plugging into all of your outlets. We teach fire safety a lot, and we're very happy to. We go to schools all the time. We go to different businesses all the time and teach fire safety. And it's really, we can't be a safe city without the citizens doing their part. And so we understand, it's cold right now. People, they want to, space heaters are a big thing right now. Frozen pipes are a big thing right now. But, I like to say every year, or advise people every year, we have house fires every year because someone stuck a salamander in the crawl space to thaw their pipes.
Yeah.
And that's absolutely the worst thing you can do.
Because what happens?
Because what happens is, your home is usually an older home that way. And we do still have a lot of old homes in the city of Marion. And so what people don't realize is your floorboards, your floor joists, over time, you've walked on them. And over years, just fine minute of sawdust is in your crawl space. Yeah. And so that sawdust mixed with regular dust, mixed with spider webs, mixed with whatever's down there, it could be dryer lint down there as well. And then next thing you know, you think it's only been 5 minutes, you had the salamander down there, but it's been like 15 minutes, and something just sparks, something ignites because you've had it there too long. Right. And then your crawl space is smoking, and then you call us. And
we do have a lot of older homes in Marion.
Yes. We're getting newer homes, but there's still quite a bit of older homes, and we understand that pipes freeze. We get it. Yeah. But you just got to try and do it a safer way than the salamander blowing heat through the whole crawl space, because it starts fires every year. We go to them every year.
I would love to mention smoke detectors if either of you wanted to talk
Yes.
about that just a little bit?
Yes, please have smoke detectors, one every level outside your bedroom doors. Sleep with your bedroom doors closed.
I just changed the batteries in mine.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Do you
Yep.
have a regular schedule for that?
Whenever it starts chirping.
When it starts, okay,
But
well,
I
that's good.
have both kinds. I have the AC and the battery backup, and then I have some just regular battery ones. But
They say
yeah.
that when the time changes, you change those
Yeah.
out, but who knows, that might even change.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So pick a day that doesn't change every year,
Yes,
and
good.
someone's birthday, your anniversary, or maybe Christmas, whatever it is. Pick a day every year that you change your batteries in your smoke detectors. And if you've had the smoke detectors for 8 to 10 years, it's probably time to change them. They only last so long. They're only efficient for so long.
Yeah.
And so, change them off the old, change the batteries. Like I said, make sure you put one on every level of your home and outside the bedrooms, but never in the kitchen, because then you'll get mad, because eventually you're going to burn something and it's going to go off. So never around the kitchen, but around the
Okay.
bedrooms especially.
That's really good advice. I'm talking to two very good experts on this field. And so those are just some really good ways that the community can support you, basically by keeping the community safe.
Yeah.
Keeping yourself safe
Yeah.
just is better for everyone.
I guess this probably be a good place to plug the carbon monoxide.
Yes, thank
yes.
you.
That gets a little confusing
Yes.
because when it comes to the fire detectors or smoke detectors, those are put up high
Yes.
because of heat, and heat rises. But when it comes to the carbon monoxide, it's actually the opposite. It actually goes to the lowest part. So the best
Okay.
place is to put your carbon monoxide. If you've got a basement, that's a perfect place to put your carbon monoxide detector.
Oh, really?
Yes, because it's all going to go. It's going to seek the lowest part
Yes.
of the whatever your home is at. So
Okay.
down towards the floor. If you don't have a crawl space or a basement, just put it down toward. Don't put it up. If you're putting it up, where you put your smoke detectors, it's not going to work as
Right.
good because the concentration is going to be low where you are actually going to be walking around at.
So
Yeah.
even if your door is closed to your basement, you should still
Yes.
put the carbon
Yeah.
monoxide detector down
and
there.
even though they make the combination smoke detector, carbon monoxide detector, those are, I won't say they're bad to buy, but they're not as efficient, because you can never put it in the place it's supposed to be.
Yes.
So if you think about it, a smoke is like, just think of it as a helium-filled balloon that's just going to rise. If you think about carbon monoxide, just think of it as water. If you pour a cup of water, it's going to fall right to the lowest point of the house.
Okay.
So it's the same thing with carbon monoxide. So wherever you think the water would flow the lowest, that's where you put the carbon monoxide detector.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
It's
That's-
heavier than air, so it's going to fall.
People do tend to forget about that. So, Eddie, thank you for mentioning the carbon monoxide. And also just there are ways that the community can kind of step up and learn how to even save other lives through CPR training.
Yes.
Do you guys have, off the top of your head, like a regular schedule? You don't have to mention any specific dates, but how often does it happen throughout the year?
There's no specific dates. It's if you yourself or a group of folks like CPR instructions, just call up our fire headquarters. We'll get you scheduled. We have several firefighters who are certified in teaching CPR, and there is a cost. I believe it's either 35. I think there's two different certifications.
Okay.
I think one's 35, one's 45. I can't remember exactly.
That's pretty affordable, and it's so important.
Yeah, but we'll teach them. We either we'll go to a specific place, or we'll do it in fire headquarters, or we'll do it at City Hall someplace, or we even do it at fire stations. We have places who call us every year, like nursing homes. We'll teach their whole staff or get them recertified.
Nice.
So we do it all the time. It's something that we enjoy doing. It's something that we can help citizens that they're going to be the first ones on the scene sometimes, and maybe it's a family member, and if they know how to do CPR, then maybe just getting that early onset CPR to the fallen person is best for them.
Yeah. Well, that's great. You guys are just so supportive. I know throughout the year, you are available to teach. You have events throughout the year that you show up and you have information, giveaways. You've shown up to even help at our citywide cleanups. You've really played a great part in our National Night Out, serving hot dogs and just being there out in the community. You're just doing a lot of really good things in addition to this very important role that you play. And anybody can just go up to headquarters and learn more if they want to. And, you're in City Hall on the 3rd floor. And so just know that they're available. And I just want to thank you guys very much for being a part of this podcast.
No problem. Thanks for having us.
Really, you enjoyed yourself?
Oh, yeah. It's a good time.
All right, you guys can listen to How Marion Works podcast through your favorite platform, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, and many more partners, all found at buzzsprout.com. These episodes are launched every other Monday at 5 a.m., and you can also find all released episodes on howmarionworks.com. So for Curtis Garr and Eddie Overmyer, I'm Layla Price-Bodkin, and this is How Marion Works. Thank you for listening to the How Marion Works podcast. We hope you'll join us next time.